just me. This here says, I'm gonna. So there was an Arsenal one I had, and I just sort of mentioned it now. Just moving slightly on to Manchester United today, viewers. Make sure you stay with us and make sure the like button has been hit. Get this stream past a couple of thousand likes. That'd be very, very kind of you if you could help us do that. So get that button done. This here says, interested to see how Erik ten Hag manages with no Casemiro. On Casemiro, what are you saying, Cam? Red card for you?
I don't know what a red card is anymore. Like, I actually don't. Like, this isn't me being funny. I truly don't know what a red card is in the prep or in soccer anymore. Because for me, if you get the ball and there was no malicious intent and you follow through and the ref has already given a yellow, then it's a yellow card, right? For me, that's how I look at it. If he called it red off of the bat, and yes, I called it soccer. Fuck the chat. If he made it red right off the bat, I probably would have been better with it. But when you call it a yellow, and then you have to go to VAR to look at it, and you've got to at that point, slow motion, you're going to see that yes, it was the follow through was harsh. Then you give a red. It's like that wasn't a clear and obvious mistake. That to me is where I'm upset about it, because the ref was right there. He thought it was a yellow card challenge. That's it. You move on. It wasn't so egregious to the point where I thought VAR needed to get involved, because he did call it a yellow. He did call it a yellow fairly quickly. Cool. It happens. Now you're in a situation where it's like we've seen so many of these, like it happened with Walker Peters just later on in the same game where he injured Garnacho, got ball, goes right through him, takes him out, like nothing. It's the same. So it's like, where's the consistency? That's what bothers me, because you're like, if the exact same thing can happen in the same game, and you can't, like, it's just confusing.
I think what's I can't show the replay on screen, but I'm looking at it slowly. The still shot here, both players go in with their studs up. Right? The same way. They both do the same thing. The difference, this is how it was unlucky. I understand why it's a red card. When I say unlucky, is they both hit the ball with their studs showing at the same time. All that happens is Casemiro's foot rolls over the ball, bounces off, and he hits the guy in the shin. If he misses his shin because it bounces in a different way, or the opponent's foot bounces up and hits his shin, I understand why people will say it's harsh, because it wasn't like he missed the ball or went straight over the top of it and got a player. He wins the ball and his foot kind of bounces off, but they both go in the same way. But as I've already mentioned,
I would have been cool if they called it red to begin with. I honestly would have been like, fine. But when you have to go to VAR, in my opinion, VAR is like, you made a clear and obvious mistake. I don't think he did. And that's what I'm bothered about more so, because I get it.
I mean, VAR itself is very questionable. I don't have an issue with the red card personally. I think yes, you can say it's harsh because he won the ball, but it went over the ball and went over and followed through. So I think by the letter of the law and how I understand the red card law to be, it's a red card. The issue is Andre Marina, if I'm correct, was the VAR, and he was also the VAR in the Chelsea game. And Leicester, I don't know who it was, on João Felix, literally came and on his ankle. It's the same guy, you know. And from one day to the next, the worst challenge was the one against Felix, and this one he sends the referee to the screen. He wasn't even booked in the Chelsea game. So that's my issue. My issue is in the red card. For me, by the letter of the law, it's the correct decision. But where is the consistency? And at the beginning, what is a red card now? I don't know. I thought I knew. I don't know.
My main thing,
like a roulette. It's like
just to show everybody, this is the one from yesterday. It wasn't even ankle. That is shin height. Like,
but he comes down.
That's not a booking, but yet that is a red card. And so this is a player who wins the ball first, and he rolls over the ball and hits a shin. This is shin and ankle first, not a yellow card. I think that's what everybody's frustration is with, is the inconsistency of it. Yeah,
it's just, for me, it's just, again, I don't believe in conspiracies. There's no conspiracy.
No, it's not conspiracy. They're just bad.
There's no conspiracy against any team. These guys are just ass for everyone. And I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, we see it week in, week out. 1 week something happens, the next week they try and make up for last week and give something that is probably not as bad as what happened last week. All they're doing is covering. They'll change rules under the gaze of night to try and cover their backs. They did it with the handballs. They did it with what constitutes as a red card, whatever. These guys are not taking accountability. And I'm not saying do what they did with that VAR ref and fire him. People got to feed their kids in the session and that. Don't fire the man. But demote them to the championship. Put them off the highest stage of English football for them to get back into the groove and start making correct flipping decisions. Because everyone is suffering and all they're doing is trying to cover it up. And maybe next week, that happened last week, so I'll give a red this week because I did something bad. Or yesterday, I did something bad. I'll cover it up again by doing the right thing this time.
If you don't say you go to VAR for a clear and obvious mistake, it changes things. I think you need to change that verbiage.
Well, the problem we've got is we don't know what constitutes clear and obvious. I just want to say something quickly. Someone says, Terry, you agreed it was a red at the start of the stream. I'm still saying it's a red. I'm talking about consistency, my friend. So again, I have not said it wasn't a referee. I'm trying to understand the decision making. What I did say is that I think it was unlucky because it was just the luck of the way the ball bounced and rolled. This is Casemiro's reaction after says it all for me. He knew it was borderline a red card. It is what it is. There's no consistency. No, see, I thought his reaction was more, I can't believe I got a red card when
he was just upset. What the hell, man? Like he wasn't even a red.
Cat's foot was higher to the shin. It's a red for me. It is. I think most of us agree that it absolutely is a red card. The red looks dangerous. I'll have another look. Again, no one's saying that it shouldn't be a red card. What we're talking about is why isn't there consistency? And then you think about what a clear and obvious mistake is. How can a man fall to the ground, move his arm out to the left-hand side, stop it going to Veghorst, and it not be a penalty and a red card? Igal, can you explain why this is not a penalty to me, please?
Which was this the Bruno moment?
No, this is the handball that came after that.
This was infuriating.
Terry, I didn't watch your game, so I wouldn't know exactly what led up to this. Okay. So I wouldn't be able to give a fair, balanced comment.
That makes sense, but like from your Cam, obviously you look distraught by it. To explain it, the player slips as the ball's going to Veghorst. He's falling down, and you go watch the slow mo. You clearly see he moves his arm away from the position. He's falling down like this, and then he moves his arm away, stops the ball from getting to Veghorst, knocks it away as he's rolling. Nothing given. And this is what I mean by we don't know what a clear and obvious mistake.
I was so sure he was going to go to the screen. Yeah. I was so sure.
Guys, let me just finish. This is how you know. This is how you know the definition of clear and obvious doesn't make sense. The referee, when questioned by the players on the pitch, said no penalty. The referee jumped in the air and put his arm by his side like this, and his arm was by his side. It's not a penalty. The replay shows his arm isn't by his side. It shows his arm is completely out. Therefore, and he's looking at it. Therefore, what is the clear and obvious mistake? The referee thinks the arm's by his side, but it was out on the floor. And that is what a mistake is. Yeah, that's why it's a robbery. That's why it's a robbery.
It's egregious. Because then all that means is that, okay, the ball's coming in. I'm going to fall over.
Up on the ground.
Do up doggy style defending, and the ball hits your arm, and it's like, oh, well, I slipped. It's the precedent that it sets. That's the issue. If you're on the floor, you're then allowed to maneuver yourself in a way that you get an advantage by using your arms.
There's no consistency, guys. We know this.
The thing about that play that killed me is, listen, the same way you're saying it's unfortunate the way the ball bounced, you got a red, cool, it's a red. It's unfortunate that you fell and you're on your hands and knees in the box when a ball's cross is coming through. It is an unfortunate situation. It clearly hits his arm. He even tries. He knew it was going to hit his arm, moves it into the path of the ball further. That's it. Penalty. Like, it's not even like at that stage where people are like, oh, he didn't mean to fall. Yeah, sure. Of course. Casemiro didn't mean to slip over the ball. He didn't mean to fall. He fell. You don't play football on your hands and knees, period. So once you're down, you are at risk. And for me,
it's becoming crazy. We saw Liverpool get a penalty yesterday for handball. And what was crazy about it, me and Jess were laughing about this. We were watching it, and it's like, if you actually watch, who headed the ball for Liverpool yesterday?
Jota.
Watch Jota. Just go back and watch Jota after he heads the ball. He heads it, and on his way down, his arms go out to his side to balance his fall. It's a natural position for your arms to go out to the side when you jump. Especially,
I didn't think that was a pender.
Yeah, no, I agree it was, but I'm just making a point here. Jump and try and turn in the air without your arms by your side, and see what happens to you. You can't do it. Your arms have to go out, but it's still a penalty because he stopped the ball from going in the back of the net with his arm. This notion that a handball has to be completely and utterly deliberate, like a goalkeeper's save, has become ridiculous. You saw, was it Souček against Chelsea the other week? He went down and clearly he goes down in a way and drops his arm, but the players are manipulating a rule because of a mistake by referees, which is if your arm's falling in a natural position, it is no longer handball. And we've seen about 5 or 6 of these in the last few weeks now.
Then if it's
let me finish. Not given, but it's all based on what you already said, KJ. It's based on, we made a mistake. Now we've got to keep making a mistake to prove we didn't make a mistake in the first place. It's ridiculous. Since Howard Webb got in charge of VAR at Christmas time, it's fallen apart. They are not checking clear and obvious errors. There's so many handball decisions that are not being given. And it isn't just Man United. Arsenal have been robbed. Chelsea have been robbed. But it's killing the game. It's killing the game when you give it.
I have a simple answer, Terry.
Give
One second ago.
Give a red card quick and easy like that to Casemiro. When it comes to these penalties, you're basically telling the players to go away. We're not even going to look at it. Checks are taking 30 seconds. It is an absolute travesty to football.
I think you should be able to challenge the referees in the middle of the game, because at this point their egos are not allowing them to make correct decisions. They're so right. They're so wrong that they're saying they're right even when they're wrong.
Yeah, but you can't challenge them to do what? They can still say no. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, implement a rule where coaches
like an NBA
can challenge them in the middle of the game and be like, you know what, this decision I feel like it's questionable. We should look at it again.
But again, you can do that. But if they still say no,
he looked at the decisions and still decided against it, right? So you're right. It would be cool to have a challenge if these referees had figured out how to call the game. But both of the calls that we're talking about, they looked at. And they got wrong.
Yeah, so they check all every goal and every penalty shout is checked by VAR. It's the speed. So people go, weren't checked. It was checked, but it's just the speed of the dismissal is crazy. For me, what they have to do is what they do in the NFL is mic up the refs, then and the VAR. They do it in rugby as well in this country. Once you hear what they're saying, even in rugby, they boo decisions when they don't go their way. But you go, okay, I understand why. For us, it's not understanding the reason. And I reckon that will stop them from covering for themselves. When you have to out loud tell everybody your thought process, you can't get away with it. If you're saying, no, his hands are by his side, if the whole world hears you say, no, his hands are by his side, we're not going to give the pen, and his arms out like this, you know they're lying. Does that make sense? There's no way of, they can't cover anything up, and it stops any claims of conspiracy or corruption, and it will keep them honest. It's sometimes... people, I'm not saying the world are full of liars, but my old boss used to say this to me. Have you ever worked in a space where you might be a customer-facing business, but you've got offices out the back? Have you all worked in places like that where you've got customers out front, but offices out the back? Yeah. My boss used to say, if you've got anything on the walls that's work-related out the back that you wouldn't be happy for customers to see, there's something wrong with it. And it always resonated with me. Like, it's true. Why should customers not be able to see how we're targeted, what we're pushing to do, what we're trying to achieve? The only reason you wouldn't want them seeing it is if you're trying to do something underhand, right? So why don't you let us listen to what you're saying behind the scenes? If you're saying nothing that's going to infuriate us, if you've got nothing to hide, then you should be showing us and letting us hear it. That, for me, is a solution here for football in general. Thank you for this super chat, my friend. You didn't say anything, but thank you very much indeed. Terry, how do you mean corruption? Well, people accuse referees of being paid and, every time. Well, it's true, but equally, it stops corruption, because if you're hearing what's being said, you'll know. If they're saying, no, it's not stud showing, it's not stud showing, it doesn't touch the shin, and you see the man's bone snap in half. I'm being very, very, very kind of obtuse with this, but they're lying. We need to hear it for clarity.
On the side, I'm watching like Newcastle and Wolves play, and Nick Pope just makes a horrendous error there, like with the ball at his feet, and totally clips one of the Wolves players in the box. I didn't get to see any, I would need Paulson to explain why that wasn't given as a penalty, because it looks like a clear penalty. Dan Burn also out of control in the box, slide tackling against two Wolves players, completely out of control. No explanation or anything. I think they need to be mic'd up. Like you guys were saying, they need to be mic'd up. We need to know, because if I'm a Wolves fan and we're in a relegation scrap, I need to know why Nick Pope wasn't sent off there and why I didn't get a penalty as well. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely right. We've got some super